At this time, I would like to call to order the July 16, 2020 meeting of the Bristol Borough Board of Education. And I want to read this statement. This meeting will be conducted live, but in a virtual format via Zoom technology. As with the May board meeting, this process is permissible under and consistent with applicable Pennsylvania School Code, Sunshine Act, and Bristol Borough School District policy provisions. Public access for participation in the meeting can be accomplished per instructions attached. And again, acknowledging that we do have a good number of people from the public. So thank you for joining us. Could we stand to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, right now, let me, Jen, do you want to do a roll call vote for me?
Sure, no problem. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Cullen.
Here.
Mr. DeMarcus. Here. Ms. Paglione. Mr. Poliafico. Mr. Parolo.
Here.
Mr. Poplawski.
Here.
Mr. Rusin.
Here.
Mr. Ciccoletti.
Here.
And Mr. D'Angelo.
Here. Do you want to go back? Did you get Mary Jane and Jeff?
No, I didn't. Ms. Paglione. No. Mr. Poliafico? No, neither of them. John, are they on?
I thought I saw both their names that they've
Okay.
I'm here.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Okay.
Mary Jane?
I'm here.
Okay,
All right,
we got it. That's
thank you.
everybody.
I was
Somebody
muted.
keeps muting me. Yeah, me too.
All right, and sorry, if you guys hear something, I'm getting concrete work done, so.
Okay, how do you unmute if you mute us?
You can put the
Star
mute on
what?
yourself.
I
Up
know
on the
I can
top.
put the mute on myself, but what is star what?
If you're on your phone, it's the bottom. Just tap the bottom left, and it's come up, and then you can unmute yourself.
Or *6.
Star, thank you.
Okay, so we've got the roll call. Everyone is present. Could I get a motion, Mr. Ciccoletti, to approve the agenda with set addendums or table items?
Make a motion to approve the agenda with set items.
Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cullen. Any questions or concerns? You know what, Jen? I'll do the roll call. I got the names now. Mr. Cullen.
Here.
Mr. DeMarcus.
Yes.
Ms. Paglione. Mr. Poliafico. Mr. Poliafico.
Here.
Mr. Parolo.
Yes.
Mr. Poplawski.
Yes.
Mr. Rusin.
Yes.
Mr. Ciccoletti.
Yes.
And I will vote yes as well. So the agenda has been approved. Okay, at this time, we're going to take some public participation. Okay, so I see that there's some people out there. If you just want to first speak up and state your name, who's ever ready to go, or if anyone has any questions now. Okay, for all of you.
Hi, this is Dory Morgan.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask the school board about what efforts have you been putting in for our students that have IEPs. I watched our last school board meeting, and there was obviously a great deal of thought given towards our student athletes. And I'm curious about what kind of efforts the group is putting together to protect our most vulnerable students and ensure their IEPs will still be met in the fall.
Dr. Minetti?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Morgan. What we're trying to do overall is to get our plan together for how and if we're going to return to school in the fall, what that's going to look like. And then we will address the individual needs of each student with their IEP, because as you know, it's not a one size fits all. Some students will do fine with just, social distancing. Some students, if they have some severe needs, may not do as well with wearing masks during the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at each individual student and their IEP and come up with the accommodations that we need to for that particular student. So it's hard to just give, I don't have like a one size fits all answer to that, because it's certainly not a one size fits all problem. Or that we're going to have to work with an IEP team for each one of our students to see what's going to work out best for them. Medically fragile children are going to have different needs to address than students who maybe have a disability in reading. So, those are the things that we're going to have to look at individually, working with the IEP team and the case managers.
I know that we have to worry about what is best for all of our students across the district. But I do want to put it out there that the BCIU did forget about some of the early intervention children that were rising kindergartners. And some of them had as much as 9 weeks without speech therapy, OT, and PT during this time. And it's important that they are not left behind as they transition to the school.
Sure. Our plan for the students who are coming in, the transitional students who are coming in from like a pre-K, is we're going to follow what was in place, because we do not have the ability to do a re-eval right now. So whatever accommodations are in place for them in the pre-K setting, we will just adopt until we can do a re-eval when they return in September.
That answer your question, Ms. Morgan?
It does. I really just would like a commitment from the school board that this stays on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Ms. Morgan, absolutely, I can tell you. And just for your information, I serve the district on the Bucks County Intermediate Board, and I'm actually the sitting president of that board. And I can tell you, the Bucks County IU is working really, really hard, because, as you could understand, there were, because of the pandemic, because of so many things, people getting sick, schools closing down, people losing a lot of kids with IEPs. They're the ones that get hit the hardest, and probably they're the ones that got hit first. And we are committed as the Bristol Borough School District, but as well as my commitment, not only to Bristol, but of every district in Bucks County, that the Bucks IU, we're gonna be all over this. So, I just want to give you that commitment. I know you're concerned, but if that makes you feel any better, and if you have any issues, you can reach directly to me, because it would probably involve both our district and the Bucks IU. So, anytime you can call Jen or Dr. Minetti if you need to get a hold of me. I'll be glad to look into any issues that you have, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anyone else from public participation? Jesse, you're on mute.
I have a question.
Yes, please state your name.
Shannon Williams.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. So I guess every year we get a list of school supplies we purchase to help out, the teacher in classroom supplies. And every year, things like tissues and Clorox wipes or Lysol wipes are on that list quite prominently. I guess what I'm asking is, since us lay people cannot purchase things like those kind of cleaners, specifically the wipes, who's going to be purchasing the classroom cleaners?
Dr. Minetti?
We will be purchasing them in bulk. As you know, Clorox wipes are very, very hard to find at this point, but we will be buying cleaner in bulk and hand sanitizer in bulk. They may not be Clorox wipes, but if we have spray bottles with sanitizer and enough, like the cloths to wipe everything down, that will be the alternative that we use for that. So we're certainly not going to ask parents. Before it was easy to go pick up a box of Clorox wipes and send it in with your child to the school, and that's not the case anymore. So we certainly understand that, and wouldn't expect parents to be able to find things that are just not available.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. Anyone else? I'm going to take that as a no.
I think Jesse Walker is still trying to ask
Jesse,
a question. But
Jesse, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Could be your connection.
I guess I
There
was
you
just
go.
about hiring a new principal. I'm just concerned about that.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go closer and ask your question again.
I was just wondering about hiring a new principal, and if we could. I'm just concerned about hiring principals versus having more teacher staff, and to teach students in like middle school or high school and being able to offer more courses. I know we need resources everywhere, but it'd be great to be able to provide more teachers to have varieties of classes.
Dr. Minetti?
Well, I appreciate, certainly we want to offer as many classes as possible for our students, but what we're looking for overall is more supervision. We have one principal who's going between two buildings, and we have a lot of new initiatives that are coming down the pike at each one of those buildings. So we want to make sure that we have the leadership in place with 7 new teachers that we have that are coming into the district now, that we have leaders in place to help foster them as teachers and to help them grow. So we definitely will need somebody at each one of the schools to make sure that we're doing what it is that we need to do. So that's why we're adding another leadership position. I'm all for teachers, and we didn't cut any positions at all when we did the turnover in staff this year. So we are committed to having the programs that we have in place and to offering enrollment classes and classes through the BCIU for additional opportunities to students. We also have online courses for students through VHS programs as well. So we are trying to expand our offerings, but at the same time, we need that leadership and guidance in each one of the buildings, which is why we're looking to add another principal.
Jesse, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jesse, just so you know, we always, even prior to Dr. Minetti joining us, we had always been hoping to add and have our model with one principal and one assistant principal at each building. And Kelly has been doing a great job of trying to be the principal for both. And this has always been our plan, and we were able to do it. It's within our budget. We're not raising any taxes. And based on what's happening with the pandemic, if there becomes a need, or next year when we reevaluate our curriculum, I know Mrs. Paglione is on top of that. If Dr. Minetti and Mrs. Rosado and Ms. Paglione identify an area where we need to add something, listen, we'll do it. Right now, things are in such a state of flux that it's probably better to get our hierarchy in place. And even with 2 principals and 2 assistants, that's a bare bones minimum. And so we're glad to be able to put that back, and we think that's going to be a good thing for the district.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have one more question. This is
Yes,
Sharon
Shannon.
Wilson.
Go ahead.
So I read over the FAQ that you guys had put up before I filled out this survey that was asked of us to fill out. And the only thing that I did not see anything specifically on there about was specifically children with asthma and how that was going to be approached with this school year, or other high-risk children with high-risk, high-risk issues. So I just was wondering if you had maybe an inkling of a planned approach for that, because it's not exactly clear what the long-lasting results of having caught COVID does to one's lungs is. So I'm just curious of what we're going to do to help the little ones that have asthma.
Thank you for your question. There are so many health considerations that we have to take into considerations that we have to take a look at as we're developing these plans. Specifically, if students have a hard time, if they're asthmatic and they can't wear a mask, then that's why we're looking at face shields that the county is going to be providing face shields for all of our staff and students, so they won't have to wear a mask, according to the information that I have received, that they could wear a face shield in place of a mask, which should help not having that mask right up against their mouth and nose.
The mask isn't the problem as far as we're concerned, because our little one doesn't have a problem with that. In fact, he loves his mask. That's his little shield protector. He counts it as art, if you will. I'm just more concerned with illness. The children, as much as we love them, are little plague blankets. They bring home everything. They catch things from each other just because, the nature of children, they cough. They sneeze, they pick their nose. And asthmatics, I think especially are hit hard during the fall and winter months with catching cold.
Okay, so you're asking for preventative measures.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, we're looking at putting all sorts of different protocols in place, having screenings in the mornings, asking parents to screen, and then having teachers go through a checklist with students to see if there are any symptoms, keeping social distancing protocols in place, keeping some kind of face shields and such on all children at all times and faculty members at all times, hand washing, sanitation, all the things that you see that are listed over and over again, we plan to have in place in the school buildings as well. So, we're going to be following all the universal precautions that we possibly can and keeping students as distant as possible. We're also going to be offering for parents who don't feel comfortable sending their children to school, we're going to offer a cyber alternative for families that is going to be taught by our teachers. We're going to kind of walk through some of the different options today after we vote. So if you want to hang on until those are over, I'm going to talk about what we have thus far in the planning and kind of what our next steps are going to be.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Miss Williams? Miss Williams? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yes, this is David Ciccoletti. Miss Williams, yes, we also advertised for some additional nurses, okay? So we will be having a pandemic committee meeting within the next 2 weeks, comprised of board members, teachers, nurses, and we will be going over some of that stuff. If it was up to me, I would like to have nurses available even after the school is closed so that you could make a phone call to them if you have any concerns. But with the additional nurses, we could monitor the children that are most vulnerable.
Oh, it's very here.
Yeah, so is what working in healthcare, I know what I have to go through, and I would like to propose some of those things to the school district, and we do have money that was allotted to us. So that would be a great help, and like I said, within the next 2 weeks, that meeting is going to be for protocols and establish not only the educational plan but our safety plan and how things are going to work. I have a couple of ideas, and the goal here is to keep all the children protected, not just during the school day, but we may have someone on call at night.
Will that meeting also be open to the public?
I believe so. Dr. Minetti, are we going to open that to the public?
Are you talking about the task force meeting or the overall meeting?
The task force meeting where we have the school board members, the teachers, and everyone, will that be open to the public, or will the decisions made by the task force approved by the board be that's going to be at a meeting?
That will be at a public meeting, yes.
Yes.
The task force will meet and we'll come up with recommendations. We can post those recommendations on the website before we do the board vote so we get public input as well.
Awesome.
Okay, I'll look out for that. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else out in the public?
I have something.
Hi, it's Joanne Polk.
Joanne
I just
Polk?
wanted to ask a question. What are we going to do for the students that have different sensory needs that couldn't wear a shield or a mask because sensory wise they wouldn't be able to wear that all day, but yet they can't do the online Zoom virtual school? They actually need physical school. How are we going to handle that?
Sure. The requirements that came out today say where appropriate. And there are situations like the one you just described that it's not appropriate for a student to wear a mask or a face shield. That will be in the student's IEP or 504. And those accommodations, just like any other accommodation, will be respected, and that's what we will use. So we understand that this is not going to be a one-size-fits-all plan, and there are going to be lots of different possibilities that are out there that we have to take a look at, which is why one of the starting comments that was a parent who has some specific concerns about her children. And that's what we want to make sure that we hit every possibility for a parent, and we will work individually with parents, especially those who are medically fragile or have special needs, to ensure that we're providing the education possible for those children. So I know some students just can't wear masks or face shields. We go into this with that understanding.
Are we going to have to get the IEP updated before they return?
If there's we have our teachers know the IEPs of the students, and they know our students really well since we're such a small school district. So we'll be reaching out to parents of students who may fit into those categories ahead of time, so we can put something in place and make sure that we have it ready for September. Even if it's not officially in the document, we'll know and we'll reach out to the parents so we can have a meeting as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else?
Yes, I'm going to hop in here. Can you guys hear me? This is Ann Wilkinson.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to say my appreciation to all of you for working as hard as you are putting this together. I work in education, and I completely get the risk, the mitigation of risk that you're trying to get into and how hard you're working. My question goes more to timeline. Will that be discussed either today? If not, can you give us a timeline on the timeline of when this would be, we would know what the school year looks like? And again, I also want to say I appreciate the support in Dory's request for a commitment to the IEPs and stuff. So that's really it. I'm looking for the timeline on the timeline, or the timeline on the timeline for the timeline of when we'll know what's going on in the fall.
Sure. If you asked me 2 weeks ago what our opening is going to look like, it would be much different than the guidance that I've been given even up till this afternoon, about an hour and a half ago. We just got new guidance that came out. The problem that I have with coming up with a single plan for reopening and even having a task force come up with a single plan for reopening is that the guidance keeps changing. We were told initially in the end of June that 3 feet distance between desks and no masks was going to be the protocol that we were able to follow. And with those parameters, we were able to have live in-person sessions and move the desks away from each other and hit those protocols. Since then, the governor has come with the order of masks for all students and people in school districts. So now, we take that into consideration. And the latest guidance that I got today is 6 feet. So, that changes everything that we have that we're trying to put into place. So what we have to do is take a look at being able to pivot at any given time. Before the beginning of the school year, we're not sure if the governor is going to come out with an order that says we have to go all virtual. And we have to be ready for that. We have computers for each of our students that we're going to do a one-to-one with our students. So we're going to have to change on a dime if that's what we need to do. If the protocol and the guidance is now 6 feet, we cannot do live instruction with all students in the building at the same time. We don't have the space available for that. So we'll have to consider a hybrid model. And our hope is that the state, right now, a hybrid model goes against the regulations for the Pennsylvania Department of Ed. But I know they are looking at changing those regulations. And just like you saw, the Philadelphia School District just adopted a plan where they had 2-2 and then 3 and 2 virtual days. If we have to do 6 feet apart, we're going to have to take that into consideration and maybe come up with a plan that looks like that. So these are all changing guidelines, and I really like having guidelines that I can follow and then put something in place. But every time we start on a track or a path, it seems to shift. So I think our best goal is to just have a variety of plans that allow us to come back and change however it is that we need to. In that will always be a cyber option for parents who don't feel comfortable with sending their students to live school. My goal was to have live instruction 5 days a week for those families who don't have the childcare that they need, or that feel strongly that their children should be in school 5 days a week. I'm not sure if we'll be able to use that option, but knowing what we know now, we're going to have to come up with a virtual option as well that allows us to shift back and forth and maybe have half the students at any given time in the building. So I wish I had a solid answer, but I'm going to give the various different protocols that we can kind of go in between depending on where the governor is with his mandates and what he feels is safe for our students.
Dr. Williams, that answer your question?
Yeah, Dr. Wilkinson here. That does answer. Yeah, I understand the pivot, and I feel like in education, there's nobody better to hit the pivot than a teacher and someone who's brought up in a teacher and leadership. So I'm really confident that you all will be able to do that. Having a point of having to make a decision with a date would also probably help a lot of parents in going back to school. So I know you're always thinking about that. I just want to reiterate. Yeah, the timeline whenever it gets closer, and the ability to pivot, I think is two things that can equally be are equally important. But thank you for that response and being very. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, and look, at the end of the day, we have to be compliant with whatever the Department of Ed and the state and with any applicable laws, and that deal. But I can tell you, Dr. Vanetti and all the other superintendents, they're all hands on deck, and they're meeting. Dr. Vanetti, I believe you guys meet almost every day.
Yeah, we meet.
They
we
do.
meet twice a week at least.
Dr. Hoffman at the IU is coordinating all this and bringing everybody together and lobbying and assessing everything. And it's I don't think any superintendents in Bucks County have ever had it, and they haven't had to deal with it, but I've really ever put in the grinding hours because it's a moving target. So we appreciate your concern, and just know that we're in partnership with the IU. We're going to get it right.
And Dr. Wilkinson, we do have our plan is going to be adopted on August 6th. That is our board meeting, the first Thursday in August. So we will have a plan ready to go for August 6th, but there will be drafts of that plan that'll be up before that point. So parents, I don't want parents to have to wait until August 6th to see in writing what the options are.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Dr. Minetti, on this point, I know you sent the board the entire new kind of updated guidelines, right? Could we get that out onto our website and out somehow to the public? So, Dr. Wilkinson, if you wanted to take a first look, once it's out there, you can see what we're kind of following.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you very much. All of the sharing of that information is super helpful.
And it's probably out there with the State Department of Ed has probably released it as well. So, you know.
Yep, it is. It's on PDE's website, but we'll put the link because it just came out late this afternoon. We'll put that link on our website under our COVID-19 icon.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyone else from the public? I see some more people. Okay. We'll call that the end of public participation. We're going to move on to the next agenda items under new business. And then when we're done, we'll ask the public again if anyone had forgot or anyone wants to ask another question. So under new business, Mr. Ciccoletti?
Yes, under new business, item A, approve the resolution of the Bristol Borough School District to authorize the granting of a tax exemption on the assessed value of certain improvements and new construction to industrial, commercial, or other business properties at the Mill Run property, tax parcel 4-24-73 and 4-24-36, previously designated for such purpose in accordance with the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Act as amended.
And I believe there's on the hard copy, there is the actual resolution. And so could I get a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cullen. Any questions or concerns by any other board members?
Yes, I got a question.
Sure.
First of all, what guarantee is there that they're going to assume the responsibility of ownership? I seen the council meeting where Mr. Salerno said that they want to do this sometime in October, maybe. What would be the incentive for them to do that? I mean, if they stay without change in ownership, they're tax-free. Why would they change? I don't understand that.
I can explain that, Mr. Rose. It's a good question. The RDA's purpose is to help properties be rehabilitated and redeveloped. They're really kind of a middleman. They own it for a period of time until they find a developer who's suitable for a particular project, and that's what's happened here. And once they do that, they move along to the next project. So their purpose is to kind of facilitate something like this. And one of the mechanisms they use that is to entice somebody to come along to develop it. They're still going to pay taxes on the base, and then if they make the improvements, that will hopefully bring in other benefits to the borough. In this case, it might be jobs and some other things. Then over the period of time, eventually it'll become a fully taxed property, and the assessment goes up the whole time. So there's a incentive for them to do this. The RDA does this all the time and all over the county, actually, more often in Lower Bucks because of the literally the redevelopment opportunities here. But that's the whole purpose for this in this particular case.
Yeah, but what would be the incentive for them to do this? Why would they do this at all? I don't understand why they would do it. I mean, if they're getting tax-free money now.
Mr. Rusin, we're under the understanding that they're possibly ready to use this the two-story building to begin generating revenue, and that's why they're trying to move to this now. Because in order for them to make revenue, they have to turn the property over to them.
Right, and they need to do that. The potential developer, who will be the buyer, who then will be paying the taxes, will be getting the permits to be able to do all the work that is necessary for that. So,
is there a guarantee that they're going to do this in October?
I don't think there's a guarantee at that time, although I think the way, as I understand the permitting that they're asking for, what focuses on that time frame. So that's from what Mr. Salerno tells me and what I've heard in other ways, that the project is ready to go, and they frankly they've been kind of chomping at the bit, and they're really ready to move on this thing. That's you know, as you know, we only all got this information within the last 6 days, literally. I think I received the information last Friday. So
that's the part that I don't like, because
I understand that. I think we did
hatch it over.
Hopefully we did do enough digging, and I think we verified everything that and provided everyone with the information. And of course, the board did approve this 5 years ago for LRTA consideration. Now they need this extension just to get over the hump and then finally get to that point where they will do that. Right now, we're not getting any revenue. If the project goes through as anticipated, the revenue will be at a value at a minimum of $81,000 a year to the borough, school district's benefit. So.
Yeah, but our board approved this 5 years ago with that same stipulation that we were going to get, $81,000,
right.
And it didn't happen. So I'm leery on what. I just don't have. I'm leery on it. So
okay,
that's my. I don't have any more questions.
Any other questions? Yeah, and so, I mean, look, in 2012, the RDA, that building was purchased by the RDA. The RDA actually owned it. And in 2015 is when this company came in and agreed to do the investments, right? And in exchange for the LRTA. And one of the things that they also said was, you keep it on your books so it's off the tax rolls until we're ready to open up. And we had hoped that it would be probably 2 or 3 years, but it's been 5 years, and now they're ready. So in the 5th year, they want use and occupancy. They want to get in there. So really, from the point of view of the school district, this is a good thing. We'll start collecting tax revenue when the clock starts ticking. So, with that, if there's anybody else has any questions or concerns, no question. I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Cullen. Mr. Cullen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Mr. DeMarcus. Mr. DeMarcus.
Yes.
Ms. Paglione.
Yes.
Mr. Poliafico.
Would I be correct in saying that at the end of this 5 years, that they can have this property reassessed?
Actually, the reassessment can occur before that. Once the property goes on the tax rolls, any improvements that they make will force a reassessment. There's 2 buildings, I understand there, the 2-story building and the 5-story building. This 2-story building will have, once it's improved to the point where it can be occupied, that will create a reassessment, which will then create, even though it's a smaller percentage, a higher amount that we can obtain by tax revenue. Same thing occurs with the other building. Once that building's developed, a reassessment will occur again. So another boost to the basic revenue that will be coming in.
And like the Atlantic building a few years ago, we did the same thing. And once the LRTA was up, they had it reassessed, and it reassessed for less. So the borough got less money, and so did the school district. Correct?
That I don't know about. And the reassessments can occur up or down for different reasons. Obviously, there's economic reasons that could impact on that. So there may be factors that have nothing to do with this particular process tonight that would impact that. So what we do know is right now there's no taxes coming in, and if we go forward, we're going to get some taxes.
I understand that.
$81,000 is a new teacher, with the between
absolutely,
salary and benefits.
But at the end of this LRTA, it could assess for less. Correct?
I don't see how it would actually be less than the 81,000 because that's the base. That's just of the ground itself. It would go up with
Okay.
every improvement as they're done.
Like 13.
I'm gonna vote no, because I prefer to have the guaranteed 81,000, so I'm voting no for the LRTA.
I don't understand what has nothing to do with the guarantee. There's no guarantee, but that's your vote, no?
Well,
Nope.
we're gonna get $81,000 right
What's
now.
that?
Oh, no,
As it is.
only if the property goes to the developer, because right now it's not taxed, regardless of the LRTA, it's not taxed because it's owned by the RDA, which is a public entity. The only way
Right,
the
but I
RDA
see the,
gets sold is to this other entity, and then the taxes start coming in.
I understand that, and I see the way the vote's going, so I'm voting no for the LRTA.
Okay, no. Mr. Frollo,
Yes.
Mr. Poplawski,
Yes.
Mr. Rusin.
No.
Mr. Rusin is a no. Mr. Chicoletti,
Yes.
and my vote is a yes. And so that motion carries 7-2. Okay, under personnel, Mr. Chicoletti.
Yeah, wait, I got to get it up on my phone. Okay, item A, approve to appoint the following middle/high school math teacher, position, salary, and benefits as per the master agreement, effective 2020-2021 school year. I want to amend this to read, that's at the first step, correct? That needs to be in these motions.
Rose, you're on mute.
I
Rose.
know, I'm just turning it off.
That needs to be in here.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
first step. Mhm.
First step. Okay, so
Well, step one, bachelors, right? Are they
Well,
both bachelors?
step one, whatever they are, they might have some 15 credits or masters, but it, okay.
But it has to be step one with the salary and what it is. If it's,
Right, correct. Yes. So that's my motion.
Okay, motion by, did you say her name?
Jillian Campbell.
Okay, the motion by Mr. Chicoletti, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cullen. Any questions or concerns? Okay, I'll do a roll call. Mr. Cullen,
Yes.
Mr. DeMarcus,
Yes.
Ms. Taglian,
yes.
Mr. Polyepico,
Yes.
Mr. Parolo,
Yes.
Mr. Poplawski,
Yes.
Mr. Rusin,
Yes.
Mr. Chicoletti,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. Item B, Mr. Chicoletti.
Approve the appointment of the following middle/high school science teacher position, salary, and benefits as per the master agreement, effective 2020-2021 school year, level first step.
Person.
Brian Swift.
Okay, the motion made by Mr. Chicoletti. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cullen. Any questions or concerns?
Just
Okay,
that the
roll-
salary and it should be in there. It should be to the public.
Well, it's per master agreement, right?
Yeah.
I know, but
Master's
not everybody
agreement at
knows
what
what the
level?
master agreement is.
Yeah.
Rose, can we make a, when we put the version out, could we add that to it?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll do a roll call. Mr. Cullen,
Yes.
DeMarcus,
Yes.
Paglione,
Yes.
Mr. Polyafico,
Yes.
Mr. Parolo,
Yes.
Mr. Poplawski,
Yes.
Mr. Rusin,
Yes.
Mr. Chicoletti,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. It makes that motion carries 9-0-0. Okay, information and discussion. Our next public meeting would be on Thursday, August 6th. I just wanted to let Dr. Minetti give a quick kind of up to speed on the new guidance that came out today.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. So it will be posted on the website. A lot of the guidance is just it keeps being recycled over and over again, but every time we get new sets of guidance, there are a couple of caveats that are in there. As I said a little bit earlier, 2 weeks ago, we were at 3 feet and no masks for the opening of school. And now with the increase in cases and the governor changing some of the mandates that we have in place, we're looking at, and the wording of it is teachers should remain at least 6 feet from students and students should remain 6 feet from each other whenever possible and when it doesn't disrupt the educational process. So those are the guidelines that we're looking at now, which will change what it is that we're going to put on the table as far as our options are concerned. No matter what options we choose, there are certain things, as Mr. Ciccoletti has said, there are going to be things that we're going to put in place regardless, and that's going to be increased nursing staff, adding some plexiglass to the offices, and changing some of our protocols, even as far as movement through the building and where people go. It's not going to be business as usual. We have to really look at every single aspect of what it is that we do from before the students come into the buildings so well after they leave, and what protocols we need to put in place. So this isn't something that's easily put together. Like I said, certain things, no matter if we have everybody who can come back in the building at one time or when they have a certain amount of students who are allowed in the building, certain protocols are going to have to be put into place, just to make it safe for everybody who's there. We want to do everything we can to ensure that our parents feel safe coming to school and that our teachers and staff feel safe coming to work. With that being said, the governor may shift again, and we may be looking at an all virtual situation for the fall, and we have to be prepared for that. I have a survey that's out right now to our teachers to get any individual concerns that they have for the mitigation in their classrooms come September. So we're going to be going through all that data. That survey ends tomorrow. We have the results put together for the parent survey that we did last week. I'd like to thank the parents for participating in that survey. We had overwhelming participation from our families, and we got a lot of really good information from that. Kelly and I read through all of the comments that each individual comment that people wrote, and it seems to me that parents want flexibility and they want to have a choice, and some parents just don't feel comfortable sending their students to school right now. We have to respect families. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve the public. So we're going to put plans in place that will offer a virtual option for parents, actually utilize our teachers and follow our curriculum. It won't be the same virtual option that we had in the spring. When we went to all virtual in the spring, we just kind of had to put it out there and do the best we can. We went to pass fail because we wanted to make sure that students didn't lose out on an opportunity because they didn't have access, or they just, this was a new platform for them. But if we go virtual in the fall, we're going to make sure that we have accountability in place. It's not going to be a pass-fail. It's going to be a regular curriculum that's going to be online. Attendance is going to be mandatory if we're going to be doing a virtual option. So we're going to make it as much like regular school if we do have to go full virtual as we possibly can. And even if parents just choose a virtual option, we're going to make sure that we have those protocols in place. We want parents to be able to go from a virtual option to having their students coming back into the classrooms and not miss a beat as well. So we're going to have to align what it is we're doing in the virtual option to what it is we're doing in the classroom options. So those are some things academically that we're looking at with our staff, and how, like I said, we can pivot and we can change if cases go up and we have to go full virtual. How do we make that happen? And then if we can do live instruction, how do we then transition right back into there? So flexibility and is going to be the key come the fall, and just being able to plan for any possible event that may happen. We still have some questions that we want answered as a school district. We want to know, what is it going to look like? What are the protocols that are going to be in place if we do have an outbreak in the school? Because it's not going to be if, it's going to be a when. I mean, this virus spreads, it's easy to catch, and if there's an eventuality that somebody in the building is going to end up getting COVID-19, we want to make sure we have those protocols in place too, that we can tell parents, if this happens, this is what we're going to do next. And so we're waiting on that guidance to come to us as well. This is an unprecedented circumstance as superintendents. We meet several times a week just to discuss, well, what are your possibilities in your building for being consistent and that we're doing what's best for kids. So just know that this isn't something we're just putting off. And I do sympathize. I have triplet stepchildren at home, and we're looking to see what they're going to do in the fall as well. So I feel you as a parent. I have college-age kids. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with them. We just have to make sure that we don't act too quickly, because what we would have put in place 2 weeks ago would not be valid anymore. So we want to make sure that we have something that we can then put in place, and if we have to shift it, we can do that based on the protocol. So I really want to thank the parents and the community for their patience. I know how hard it's been, and just trying to prep for this is difficult for your family. We want to do everything we can to stay as connected with our kids as possible, and what we really want more than anything is to have them back live. But what we want to make sure we do is have a safe environment for that to happen.
Dr. Minette, I'd ask you a question. The survey, what percentage of the surveys did you get back? I'm just curious.
Well, it's hard to say percentage-wise. We had over 500 surveys that came back, but there were multiple. Each one of those could have one child, or it could have been 4 or 5, depending on how many students they had in their family. So we probably had about 85% of our population that completed the survey, based on
Also, the guidelines you were talking about, that's from the Board of Education, right? That's the one you're talking about, like the one we saw earlier today I was reading?
Yes.
Yeah, because they were pretty specific on a lot of things, like hallways, playgrounds, cafeterias. I mean, it went on and on about, there's so many things that they covered in there. It was actually pretty extensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many, when you start thinking about a school and you start thinking about, you start with the can we come back or can't we come back, aspects of it. But then when you really start thinking about every aspect of a school day and what has to be planned to make sure that things run smoothly and that kids are able to social distance and that we're able to follow all those safety protocols, there are a lot of steps involved in this, and it's something that we're chipping away at and looking at each one of those pieces.
I have a question.
Sure.
Dr. Minetti, has there been any updates as far as the fall sports programs and early practices?
Yes.
Any guidelines?
PIAA just came out yesterday, I believe, saying that they're going to have a season in the fall. Their fall sports are going to go on. Now, I don't know exactly what, and that included football. That's an individual school decision as well. The PIAA can say we're going to run sporting events, and the school district can say, well, we're not going to send our kids to certain events. So depending on where we are, and the governor may step in and say, no, you're not. So because the PIAA doesn't fall under PDE.
Right.
So they're too conflicting sometimes.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, I know what Philly's doing right now is the plan is what PIAA said, so they're going to go with it. But I mean, each individual district and school do their own thing. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think we might have
I don't know if you.
Poplowski.
Yeah, I think we just lost him.
Jeff, listen, if you look on our Facebook page, right, on the Bristol Borough School District Communications Facebook page.
Well, I mean, it's
Mr. Lally has been updating it. and he's updated it 4 or 5 times already. And I just saw
Yeah,
it an hour ago.
Okay. I didn't look at it. I saw it early this morning, but what I want to know what Rose's thoughts are, and our staff and their feelings on how things are going. Is there a plan in place right now on guidelines and what we're looking out for and what we're stressing to our coaching staff and the individual kids themselves?
Yes, the board adopted the return to athletics policy at the last board meeting, and they are posted. All the guidelines are posted on our website, and those are the guidelines that Mike Lawley went over with the coaches before they started any kind of procedures. So the coaching staffs have been given all of the protocols and review them all, and Mike Lawley is out actually watching the practices and make sure that things are going according to plan. The trainer is also there to help. The students are screened every day when they come for practice. They do have to wear masks unless they're participating, because you can't have kids wearing a mask while they're running or they're lifting a barbell, because it's 90 degrees, they'll pass out. So
Absolutely.
It's actually in the protocol that they are to wear masks if they're just, on the sidelines or they're walking someplace. But if they're participating, masks are not required. So.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns is when the football team gets into wearing their uniforms and equipment, protocols for disinfecting the equipment and the helmets and pads and things like that, besides washing their outer shirts and things like that. There's going to be kids, excuse me, but kids do throw up in the summertime, in those practices and stuff, all that kind of stuff there. It's concerning. And I was just curious, we're going to have them run through sprinklers or, whatever. But I'm sure you guys have taken that in consideration as coaching staff also. But I think it would be, really important for the parents to know that, we're looking at, it's impossible to look at everything, but we are considering all different scenarios and different ideas on how to handle things.
No, absolutely. And there is some equipment that the students, they're told go home immediately after practice, and they have to wash their equipment that they can wash, like their practice jerseys and things like that. The equipment that stays here, the pads and all that, they're disinfected every night.
Okay, great. Okay, that's great. Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Rose, and I happen to witness a couple of practices for at least a couple of minutes and heard the coaches actually communicating, like sanitizing. So it's definitely being reiterated by the coaches. So it's like, as a member, that's definitely a good thing to hear.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, Rose, did you want to finish up, or are you done? Or that was the question specific, but I know you might have had some more, or no?
Just a few more things. So what we're going to be doing is having our task force meeting. Our first one will start next week, and we want to get the template up and put together so we can put it then up on the website for review for parents, so we can take questions before it's adopted on the August 6th meeting. So we want to be transparent. If any parents or any community members have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or call my office. I answer all the emails that I receive, and I know people have individual concerns and some specifics to their particular family or their situation. We're more than happy to work with families to provide the best education possible while following all the safety guidelines that we need to follow. Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo.
Okay, thank you. The only thing I wanted to update everyone is I don't know if you got it yet. Jen sent out the evaluation form, and we're required by law once a year to evaluate Dr. Minetti. We've used this form before. If you have any questions or concerns, you know, I would hope that maybe we can start getting them back by our next meeting, because I'd like to be able to go through it all and put it together and provide her with that form, which is required. So if you have any questions or concerns about it, it's like a grading system, but each section, these are 5 sections, but each section has a place in the back where you can write comments. So I encourage everyone to give the feedback and you know, if you have
Mr.
any,
D'Angelo, excuse me.
yeah.
I did mail them out today to everyone, a hard copy.
Okay.
So if they don't have a printer or can't get it by email, it's all mailed out by hard copy. And I'd be happy to pick them up, or they could drop them off.
Well, like I said, it's not, you know, we wanted to get the ball rolling. We've got a meeting in like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. By then, let's see how we're working. I would hope that we could get them all back by then. Okay? So if anyone doesn't have any other questions, I'll ask the public. Is there anyone in the public who we might have missed or has a question on the concern on anything that we discussed today?
I am so sorry to be the troublesome one here. I have one more question.
Sure.
With the understanding that you guys don't have a full view on exactly when opening is or exactly what opening it specifically looks like. With that particular understanding, when is the proper time to ask for an IEP/504 meeting for this year? Mostly because I just want, I know that there's a 30-day allotment on time, and last year I ran into the problem that I had my 504 meeting scheduled for March 24th. So happens to be the Monday after you guys closed because of COVID reasons, which I was completely understanding to, and I understand this stuff happens, and I can roll with that. And I let it go for about a month and a half almost, and I just wanted to wrap things up for the year, and it was just hard to regroup and get things straightened out for the end of last year and then try to see the forward for this year. And again, completely understanding why everything happened the way it did and can be flexible, but for going into this year, understanding that there's a 30-day period amount of time before the meeting can and needs to be scheduled. When is the time to ask for these meetings? Because you guys are going to get pummeled with them, being that there's so many people that need to catch up with what happened at the end of last year.
Sure. Ms. Williams, if you like, you can email me, or you can email Dr. Damon Smith, and we can start getting the ball rolling for you, just to ensure that we have what you need in place for the beginning of the year.
Okay, I just know that there's other parents that are going to end up having the same problem, so I just wanted to be able to, you know, get that question out there to anybody else who might want to know when to start that process.
Yeah. Just send me an email, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Anyone else from the public? Okay, we'll go around the horn with the board. Mr. Cullen, anything?
Yes, I just wanted to tell Dr. Manini when we were talking about the sanitizing and all that stuff. We, at my building too, we do a lot of sanitizing. I have a lot of connections for sanitation, sanitizing wipes and stuff. That we actually kind of make this little barrel that sits on the desk and stuff that has about 500 wipes in it. It's like a little bucket you make and stuff. But we have a lot of stuff there. If you're interested in me giving you any of that information, I have that available at my work.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
And,
If you pass it along, that'd be great.
And I just want to say, really, the schools look really nice. Like the lighting at the school looks excellent. When I go down the street, the high school and all that, I just wanted to say, talk about that. It's really lit up, and it's at nighttime. It's amazing how you can see everything, and it really looks great. They're doing a great job with that. And that's all I really have. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Mr. DeMarcus.
Nothing for me tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMarcus. Ms. Paglione.
Yes. I just wanted to ask Dr. Minetti if you have gotten any numbers for the kindergarten classes and all the other classes that if we might need extra teachers or we won't need extra teachers.
Yes, actually, Ms. Rosado and I have been looking at the numbers for each one of the grade levels. I think, and Ms. Rosado can correct me if I'm wrong, we're probably at about 75 kindergarten registrants right now. Yeah, that's just right around 75 kindergarten registrants. And any of our other classes have not increased at this time. But we are monitoring those numbers to make sure that we don't have anything that's like higher than what we have seen in the past.
Okay, so last year we had a very high number in kindergarten. So is that number still the same going forward into first grade?
It's actually a little bit smaller than it was at its height. And they are going into a situation where there are 5 teachers. So there is an extra, there is an extra teacher. So there has been a little reduction in the numbers, and now they're spread across 5. So those numbers shouldn't be as high as they were in the kindergarten.
Okay.
Okay, but we have those numbers, and we keep pulling them up to take a look at them, because we're looking at if parents want a virtual option, what that'll look like as well. So we have to be very careful where our numbers are.
Okay. Okay, and I just want to thank everyone in the administration for doing such a great job in this terrible time. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Paglione. Mr. Polyafco?
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Minetti and the staff for doing an outstanding job, and all the workers and everybody else. And that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polyafco. Mr. Corolla? Mr. Parolo? We'll come back to him. Mr. Poplawski? Pops? Come back to him. Mr. Rusin?
Yes, I got a couple things I got to ask. A parent asked me today about the student awards for this year, and I know we're going to have that virtual graduation, and when's the video coming out, and are there awards lumped in with that the graduation ceremony?
Yes, we actually have next week. I believe it's Wednesday, the 27th. Is Wednesday the 27th? I'm looking at the date here. No, not next week. It's the week after, the 29th, I believe it is. We're having the senior farewell picnic. And we have the video done, but we thought it would be a really cute idea to save the video and let the seniors watch it first. Mm-hmm. And do like a premiere party for them, and then followed by a cookout. So we have that arranged for the 29th. And then once we screen it with the seniors, we're going to put it out on the channel and in public for everybody else to see.
Okay.
The awards are in there, the rose ceremonies are all in there, the speeches, everything is wrapped up in there, and it's really, really good.
That's great. That's a good idea too. I like that idea. Another thing I have is, how are we doing with the search for the new principal?
Well, I just came in tonight. That's why I came in from Long Beach Island. I was on vacation this week, sort of. And I came to get the applications so I can screen through them. Kelly had already screened them. And we're going to start interviews next week.
Oh, okay. I got one more thing too. Or two more things. I wanted to bring up about the the hand sanitizers and all the plastic that's going to be in the building beginning of the year, and the students being in there at the same time. Is there any chance of that being an additional fire hazard being in the building? I know that hand sanitizer, I keep it in my car, and they said that could catch fire when it gets warm. And I know, like with being the president of the tech school, I talked to Dr. Posky today, and they're putting plastic barriers between student desks or whatever. That vinyl plastic that clears through. I didn't talk to him about this issue, but after I talked to him, I'm thinking that, man, if there was a fire in there, what are you going to do? How are you going to get out of there? It'd be like a fuel for a fire. And I have a concern about that, but I don't know, maybe the fire marshal should come in and take a look and see what, if we're doing any harm to the students is what I'm talking about.
Well, just as a general, even from when we had the swine flu epidemic, I believe that was 2009, right around that time. At that time, we were provided with hand sanitizer for every single classroom. So hand sanitizer is something that has been in classrooms for a very long time now. And they're just basically, they're a jar of alcohol with the gel, that just stops them from liquefying. So, it is something that's generally in a classroom and has been for quite a long time. Now, if you had a large stockpile of it, just like gasoline or anything else, you have to be very careful how you stored it and make sure that you stored it someplace that was safe because alcohol is flammable. So, if we had large storage containers of it, we'd have to make sure that we're following protocols to ensure. But in those small containers, it's just like having a bottle of alcohol in each one of the desks.
All right, thank you. I got one more thing. I want to resign from the Building and Grounds Committee. It seems like Mr. Prolo's doing a good job by himself. He's a one-man show there, and I'm sort of left out in the cold as far as any kind of input. So I'm resigning as of tonight. That's all I got.
Okay. Let's go on to Mr. Ciccoletti.
Yes, Dr. Minetti, the young lady mentioned about the IEPs. In her, to resolve her problem, you said, yes, she will email you. But going back to March, no IEPs have been addressed, correct?
No, they haven't had any IEP meetings in person.
Okay.
They have had virtual IEP meetings though.
They have had those? Okay, so can we set a timeline so that we could get all this done like in the month of September, get the staff together so that we could reach out to all of these individuals rather than just
we
wait
fall out of compliance because there are timelines that have to be followed, so we want to ensure that we're within those timelines.
All right, so we're within the timelines, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so anything that has to be reviewed, we should be working on that, I guess, in the first month when we go back. It's never going to hurt to reach out to the individuals with IEPs and let them know that because of the situation, which they are aware of, that we will be contacting them and following up, and if they have any questions, so that therefore they know that we have them, on our minds.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. The second thing is, at the last meeting, I said that I made the motion to hire extra nurses, nurses. Mm-hmm. It seems that everybody just thinks we're hiring a nurse. There was an article in the paper that says we're hiring a nurse. It's going to be nurses. Okay, and I have a question for Mr. McHugh. Is how many applications have we received for nurses?
I don't receive the applications. Jen or Rosewood.
Have we received
Dave,
them? Yes.
Dave, just one.
Okay. All right, then
Just
maybe
one.
we need. Well, we need to send one to the Catholic school. So if we have one, that's going to leave us short. So rerun the advertisement again.
I'll look at other places to send it to get more people. You know what I mean? I'll send it through Penlink and try to come up with other places to send it.
That's very important because we want to stress the fact that we want to have a safe school. Nurses are important to that, making that recommendation that we are safe. And like I said at the beginning of the meeting, I would like to have someone on call after hours that an individual could reach out to and say, hey, you know, my daughter was in school today, and I'll discuss all of this when we have our meeting. The only other comment I have is, you know, I've sat here and I know that the situation is fluid, but I keep hearing, well, you know, we're waiting for this one to do that. We're waiting for that one to do that. The time has come where we have to develop a plan. And it's either going to be virtual, it's going to be hybrid, or it's going to be we're going back to school. So we have to prepare those three ideas and then work from within that framework, okay? So we have to make that our base and then work from there. So it's going to be one of those three things. So at least we'll have a plan for that, along with, you know, the PPE and all of that stuff. Mr. Ruzin's comment about the plexiglass and all of that, I think that we don't have so much of an issue with that. We have to keep the social distancing and we have to keep the PPE available. And I think that helps. To go and put dividers between everything is going to be very difficult. The best way is how we do it at Drexel, is just restricting areas. You're only allowed in certain hallways. You're only allowed to use certain bathrooms, certain doors, certain times people could be, and that works. So we have a lot to do in 3 weeks. We have a lot to do. That's it.
Okay, Mr. Parola, are you still there? Would you like to say anything? Mr. Parola?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. No, I'd just like to say that if anybody had any questions about the projects that were going on, we've discussed them in June, but they're all going the way we talked about, and they all should be probably finished up by the end of July, latest first week of August, and then we'll be fully committed to taking care of the school, whatever needs that, you know, they're going to have. So if anybody have any questions, you could always text me or what, but there ain't that many projects going on this year, but they're all under control. So that's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Popolowski? Mike Pops? Mike? It looks like he's muted. Rose, can
Are you looking for me or no?
There you go.
Mike
Yeah,
Pop
Mike
or no?
Pop. Go.
There you
No, I just wanted to say how good the both school buildings looked. I know they pressure washed them. I know a lot. I probably talk to George Gatto probably 3 times a week. So I mean, like everything, like, and it's probably under Big Al's realm. The schools are looking great. There's a lot of stuff that's being done that probably people don't recognize, like removing like caulk that's probably 20 years old, replacing it. There's a lot of good things going on that probably nobody will ever notice.
Where you are, Mike? Anything else?
No, that's it. And I want to congratulate and like recognize what the football team's done, because I've actually witnessed them implementing Mike Lowry's procedures and voicing the proper sanitation and washing hands and stuff like that. Like, I think the athletics is moving in the right direction, and hopefully we get to see some fall sports.
Okay, man. Thanks, Mike. Okay, I just wanted to kind of echo what Mr. Ciccoletti was saying, but it's kind of funny, Dave. You said we're going to either be online learning, hybrid, or come back to school. There's a good chance we're going to have to do all three at some point or another. So, again, and before I go, I just want to thank Dr. Minetti and Kelly. Dr. Minetti is trying to get a little bit of vacation, and she's working almost every day during her vacation. And you too, Kelly, I know, you've been putting in a lot of time, a lot of things going on, but both of you made sure that the class of 2020 got, your best effort and got our best effort. And without missing a beat, you're already working on to the next year with a whole bunch of different issues. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it, and I think the rest of the board does as well.
Hey, John, I didn't think Jeff didn't get a chance to talk. Did you, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I did, Steve. Thanks.
I'm sorry. I must have lost my connection then. I must have missed it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so with that, Mr. Truelove, anything to add?
Nope. Nothing to add to anything everybody said. Thank you.
All right, listen, and thank you, Mr. Truelove, for all your work on the LERTA. And now that that's behind us, go ahead, Mary Jane.
Yeah, John, I just want to ask if we can go into a very short executive session since we didn't have one before the meeting. I just have some items I would just like to put out there.
Well, hold on. I don't know if we can do it here. Rose would have, are they that critical that they can't wait till our next meeting? Because we can't do it on this meeting. We'd have to start a whole nother Zoom meeting.
Okay, because it's a special meeting.
Well, we're going to have a meeting on August 6th, which is 2 weeks away. Now, if
too many people have access to this meeting, that's why so many.
Right, the public would be able to jump in on this meeting. But my question is, if there's something that you need to talk to Rose about, and
no, okay, well, it can wait then.
Okay, all right.
I just thought we would be able, because we didn't have executive before this meeting. I thought we should go into it.
This is a public meeting.
Right, this is the public one. We didn't set one up because we really just wanted to do it for, to do the hiring.
Okay.
Okay?
But that's good. It can wait.
August 6th, listen, reach out to Rose, talk to whatever executive issue you got to talk about, and we'll put an executive session at our next meeting if it needs to be resolved.
Okay, it can wait.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
With that, I would get a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
A second, is that Mr. Polyafco? Second, thank
Yep.
you. Okay, I'll see you guys on, have a good 2 weeks. I'll see you on August 6th.
Thank you, everybody. You guys have done a really good job of keeping the school together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.